So Matt, as the COO of USA Fact, tell us about what your company does for businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very proud to say what we do is we help protect our businesses. We help protect our customers through their culture, as well as making sure that they're hiring the right people and protecting their overall financial stability of their company.
So how difficult is it for businesses to keep up to date on legislation and other laws?
It's actually very difficult. I spent a good portion of my career in the insurance industry, and in the insurance industry, things are very cut and dry, pretty black and white as to what's right and wrong. In our industry, it's not quite as old as the insurance industry, and for that reason, the laws are still shifting, and some of those laws are rather gray. And so it's very hard for our customers to keep on top of exactly what they should do and how they should do it, especially when you have gray areas. And so one of the things that we do with our customers is help make sure that they have the right products and that those products are avoiding those gray areas as much as possible and that they're using the best practices.
What are some of the major issues business owners face today in hiring new employees, and how does your company assist with that?
Some of the largest employment issues that we see employers face actually have more to do with them not understanding those employment issues that are out there. One of the most important things that we do for our customers is help them understand the right kind of screen that they need to perform and the right kind of services they should look at. Based on the FCRA law that's sitting out there, they're supposed to do maximum due diligence in their hiring practices. That's the law. These are one of those gray areas that I was talking about. When you say maximum due diligence and you have products that range from $5 to $125, what's maximum? Pretty easy to say, well, it's a $125 product. Well, maybe not. I can certainly say it's probably not the $5 product, but it's something we can really help work with our customers and come up with what is the right product for them, that if they have to sit in court and they have to defend their practices, they can say, we did the maximum due diligence that makes sense for our company, our employees, and this specific position.
So why is legal compliance so important in the background screening industry?
Legal compliance in the background screening industry is actually one of those very difficult things to deal with because, again, the industry isn't specific on many of the items. So legal compliance is constantly changing as they take some of those gray laws and make them a little more formal. It's very important that our customers understand those changes. There's one current customer that we're working with that was with another background screening company. They were providing a letter to all of their employees or potential employees, which was a good thing to do. They needed to provide that letter. That letter was about 1 page long, and the bottom half of that page was all of the rights that the employee had or the potential employee had. The right way of doing that, the proper legal way of doing that is something closer to 3 different documents with a total of somewhere around 5 to 6 pages worth of information. So while they were doing their background screens, they hadn't been provided the information to understand that changes had happened since 2006 and they needed to continue to update that. There's a lot of things we do to help our customers with that and make sure that they stay in compliance. One, if they're using some of our automated solutions, we're always sending out the most recent information, and that's an automated process and they don't have to think about it. If they're using a more manual process and they're more comfortable with that manual process, we make sure they stay up to date with the latest and greatest information.
Can you tell us what is standardized screening and what are its applications both locally and globally?
Absolutely. A standardized screening and local and global application is an interesting conversation. It's hard to say standard because there really are a lot of different products out there. There's a product out there that is a national database search. Well, based on the name, most companies would look at that and say, great, I'm doing a national search. Why don't you do a state search? If it's something happened in a state, I'm going to see it at the national level. That's not necessarily true. In that national search, for some states, there's only a couple counties that report into that national database. So if they do this national search thinking that they've got every county in the nation, they're incorrect. So it's hard to say that's standard. It's also hard to say that what's standard is to do a search in every single county across the United States. If you did a search in every single county, it would be cost prohibitive. So really working with our customers to come up with what's the standard search for them for each one of their positions is a very important thing. If they're hiring a CEO, that's a very different background screen than they may want to do for a driver. Both require a certain level of due diligence and both require that they do their maximum diligence in those hiring practices, but you probably have a higher expectation if you end up sitting in court and you were hiring a CEO and all you did was one national search.
So Matt, why is your business so important in today's business environment?
Today's business environment, USA Fact, and the background screening industry in general is becoming more and more important. I think most businesses and CEOs understand the value of their insurance and understand what they're paying for their insurance. There's a lot of risk, and there's been a lot of litigation in that space, and so people understand what they need to do to protect themselves. Without insurance, they may lose their business. Same thing happens in our industry. In our industry, there's a whole lot more litigation that's coming into play because it's a newer industry. And there's a bunch of different laws that are out there that are constantly changing that must be tracked. It's really important that a business owner makes sure they have a good background screening partner who's going to help make sure that they're dancing that litigation as they need to. If they were to hire an incorrect individual, they may have a booming business. They may do a tremendous job coming through the bad economy and going into the good economy, but they could end up losing their business if they make the wrong decision and hire the wrong person. Truly, they could do everything perfect, and an action they take today, a hire they make today, in 3 years can cause them to lose their business. So it's very important that our customers and those that aren't our customers yet understand the value of our business and what we can provide to them. It's something that we're trying to do right now, is make sure that people understand that importance. There are some businesses out there that see it as a commodity and see it as a checkbox. And if what they're looking to do is check a box, they can absolutely do that. It won't be a good move, and in the end, they're paying for insurance that they'll never get coverage on. That's, I think, the best way of looking at it.
Running an operation like this probably requires strong financial support. Can you tell us a little bit about your current financial institution and how they help your company?
Yeah, absolutely. Premier Bank is absolutely vital to us. In our business, we do have a bit of, and I don't want to say a cash flow problem, it's not a cash flow problem, but we have an issue where we have to pay a significant amount of dollars to the vendors that we end up tapping into to pull some of the information that we then go through and provide to our customers. We have to pay that before we receive that money from our customers. So it's very important to us that we have a good relationship with the bank, and we've had a very long-term relationship with Premier. It's something that we think the world of, and we've certainly been able to work with them and positive on both sides, both for them and us. Without that solid financial institution, it would be very difficult to perform the functions that we need to perform for our customers.
So can you tell us, what is it that has been your favorite thing about working with Premier Bank?
Honestly, I think that local, personal touch and feel. My business partner, I come from a business background where we're really focused on those local relationships. We had competitors in previous industries that they'd basically sit on the phone and they try to make phone calls to their customers, and that's how they drive the business. And then the second the sale's done, it becomes a very impersonal feel. We believe very strongly in that local presence. We want to make sure that as much as we can, we're right next to our customers as well. We're adding additional branches at this point for that exact reason, to make sure that we have that local touch and feel. That's something that Premier's done for us. They have that local presence. They have that local touch and feel. We're able to sit down with the CEO of the bank if it is necessary and have the conversations. That's not necessarily something we might get from a non-local bank. So it means a lot to us to have that local relationship.
Matt, as you know, in today's current environment, many companies are looking for any opportunity to cut cost. Can you tell us why it is that background screening should not be one of the items cut from a budget?
It's certainly an option for companies not to perform a background check, not to perform all of the different things they need to do when they're hiring an employee. It's an option, but it's also an option to end up losing their business. Very similarly, you don't have to buy insurance. Well, some insurance you do have to buy, it is mandated, but you don't have to buy insurance. However, I don't think there's many businesses out there that would consider not buying insurance. It's a similar situation here. It's very important that our customers purchase this service and purchase the right service. If they decide to cut on it, they're saving. Let's talk a little bit about price. You're talking about a product that's running somewhere between, say, $40 and $100. On average, it's more like $40 to $50. If they decide to cut $40 on an employee that they're spending $30,000 or $40,000 a year on, that could end up bankrupting their company, I think it's a bad executive decision. So it is absolutely a mandatory spend. I think what's most important is making sure that they have the right partner that's going to provide a service that isn't just checking a box, but is truly providing the protection that they're paying for.
For somebody who's outside of your industry, when you talk about companies potentially going out of business due to not doing proper background screening, it might sound a little extreme. Can you tell us some examples and give us some more information on how that could happen?
I can't speak to specifics. I can't mention companies, but I can give general examples. There's one customer that we're working with that's based out of the central area of the United States. Very, very large company. They have about 40 or 50,000 employees. They decided that because their lower-end employees didn't cost as much money for them, they didn't want to perform the background check that would cost them, even in this case, it was a $22, $23 background check they were looking at. It was actually being offered by a competitor of ours, and they decided they didn't want to do that. So they didn't perform that. They then moved forward, and they had a situation where an employee took an action that employee should not have taken and caused harm to another employee. It was fairly significant, but I really can't go into the details on it. They ended up in a situation that they barely kept their company. And I'm not kidding. 40, 50,000 employees, and they almost lost their entire company out of it. Now they're in a really bad place because they have 40 or 50,000 employees that they need to go back and do background screens and, in this case, drug tests on as well. Doing those background screens and drug tests, they're estimating, and based on our numbers, we would agree with it, they're probably going to end up losing about 30% of their working staff. To lose 30% of their working staff tomorrow would shut down the business. It's something they absolutely can't do. So now we have to spend the next 3 years working with them to stage those 30,000 employees and bring them through that process. Between now and that point in time, 3 years from now, when everybody's checked, they're highly liable. If something were to happen again, they will go out this time. Or I say go out, maybe not go out of business, but someone else will probably own them. It really is something that sounds extreme, but we see it more often, and especially more recently, as there have been more difficult times. Litigation starts to increase. People are looking for ways to make money, and they end up, actually, some companies get targeted. If they aren't doing background screens and an individual who maybe isn't of the best ethics determines they want to make some money, they may go in and specifically look for an opportunity to be able to come back and sue the company because they didn't do that check. It truly is a large risk that I don't know that all business owners completely understand. So again, I go back to the point of spending zero on hiring a new employee that's going to cost you $20 to say $150,000 a year, depending on what level you're hiring, right? But not doing a background check that's going to run you somewhere between $0 and $100. It seems a little short-sighted to me, and no question, they are putting themselves at risk.
Matt, can you tell us a little bit about how it is that current technologies such as social media are impacting the background screening industry?
Social media has been a very hot topic in our industry for a while now. It's interesting because as we talk to customers, there are many customers that are looking at it and they are using it. Technically, they can't be looking at it and they can't be using it. And if they decide not to hire someone, those companies are not taking the proper actions and they're not hiring that person, but they aren't saying it's because of what they found on the social media site. What we've done is we've been working with a partner of ours to develop a product, and we're one of the first background screening companies in the nation that are able to do this. The product's been around for a while, and it's been used in other industries, in specific the insurance industry, to be able to search for any kind of fraud that's taking place. It's also been around a lot for social media policies. Social media policies that companies put in place, you absolutely have a right to leverage. So this product is something we're able to offer to our customers to help them with their social media policy. So they set that policy, and the product will specifically look for what's listed in the policy and anything that breaks that policy. We've also now had a recent letter that's coming from the FCRA, which is going to allow the background screening industry to start using social media. Let me restate background screening industry. It will allow companies to be able to use social media, as long as it's public, to make a decision on whether this person is the right person. There are a bunch of rules around that, just like everything else we do in our industry, and you have to make sure you follow those rules properly. If any kind of picture or statement in any way leads an employer to understand the race, color, creed, anything of the sort of the individual, and they make a decision not to hire him, even not because of that, they can end up in hot water. So it's very important that they're working with us and with those who are educated in this space to look at the right information in the right way and make sure they aren't seeing something else that they shouldn't see and make a decision for the wrong reason. So it's really a hot space right now. A lot of people are looking at it and trying to understand how should they do it, and it's something we're having a lot of conversations with our customers on at this point.